Every time I pause you, Jay. Like, I like the fact that he used Linux and all that. What's the most replayable? Yeah, let me see. What are we at right now for him? 7. Wow, 7,080K. That's pretty big. Why can I barely hear anything? That's probably why. That's probably why. There we go.
This is a system.
So, yeah. Are we actually allowed to watch this? Is that the thing? Are we allowed to watch this without it like setting off some sort of weird alarm on YouTube where we can react to it? Or do we have to do it in a way where the video's a little bit smaller and everything? Because I don't know how to do this. Because I haven't actually fully, watched it. And I want to try that. Like, what if we just do this? No, that's me. Like that. It is fair use. Okay. Here we go.
The system I built for that. So what I actually wanted to say before I started to say I don't want to get aggressive in the comments, if you have what you think is a better approach for this, please respectfully put it down in the comments, but include some information that's actually useful, not why did you go with Bazzite and not yada yada, because guess what? That doesn't tell you anything. All that does is come off as a pedantic put down. So
he's right about that. He's definitely right about that. Basically, everyone's saying use this, use that, do this, do that. All it does is make you look like a dick, and you'll probably end up getting blocked because I don't know. I don't know how he is with people's opinions and whatnot. Hey, do you guys want to know how I'm having a bad leg day? I'm drinking water. It's like poison in my system.
If you're going to recommend a different distro of some sort, say, I recommend this distro because, and it has a user rating in terms of difficulty 1 to 10 of put a number. Now, keep in mind, if you're approaching people that are beginners, what might seem like a 5 difficulty to you might be a 10 to someone that's new. So try to put yourself back in perspective of being new. I know it's hard for a lot of you Linux folks, but...
Dude, the last time I was new to Linux, I was 4 years old. So I don't remember what that was like. I remember being new to Arch Linux and being overwhelmed when I saw an empty terminal and there was nothing there, but that's it. And those days are gone. So it's kind of hard to put myself back in that perspective. And I know many of you probably have that same issue. Ah, you're off already, are you? All right, enjoy your dinner. Yes, I get very obnoxious too when pushing CachyOS.
bear with me. We're going to try this here today. So here's the
And I saw your comment,
built.
Painless. I saw your comment.
It is running a 14700K and a Z790 ITX board from ASRock, Phantom Gaming. Really because it's the only ITX board that I have. 32 gigabytes of DDR5 running 6400 mega transfers at CL38. Nothing super fast or crazy. It does have a 240 millimeter AIO that is cooling it. It's an old Fantex MPG or MPH 240. We use
the GPU.
The miles per hour. It's got an 850 watt SFX power supply because we are also for the GPU running a 20 gigabyte 7900 XTX AMD.
You're running the 7900 XTX instead of the 9700 XTX. Okay. That's fair. You're not going to get good ray tracing performance from that. Not really. You're missing out on FSR4. Not a good choice, but I get it. Thoughts on high DE dots instead of N4? I don't know. I've never used high DE. I have used N4, but yeah. I don't know. Go with N4. It uses QuickShell. QuickShell's just better, period.
Card. And the reason for that is Linux support for AMD graphics cards tends to be better than NVIDIA, although NVIDIA does seem to be improving in terms of the graphics support.
Hey, here's a little known fact about NVIDIA support on Wayland now. It is exactly the same as AMD support. There's no difference. So, in other words, NVIDIA can now run the Steam OS, like through GameScope, whatever you want to call it, the Steam Deck experience absolutely flawlessly with no weird visual corruptions, slowdowns, issues with frame rate. Games run perfectly fine. I've not had any issues with that. So the NVIDIA experience right now, minus the whole DirectX 12 controversy thing, is on par with my 9070 XTI. So we're good on that. That's no longer an issue. Welcome, Freaky. You were very welcome here. Yes, that's because of the DirectX 12 controversy, which should hopefully be fixed with the 580 driver. So, yeah. This video is for gaming, by the way. He actually jumped into gaming. I like that back wall there. That looks cool.
At least on Bazzite, because Phil actually went home after he did the wall. Phil set this up and set himself up a dual boot laptop that runs Bazzite as well, and he was playing Cyberpunk and other games and kind of doing some performance comparisons and stuff, and said everything appeared to be working. DLSS was working, ray tracing was working. Like, it was a pretty seamless experience. Like, he also...
That is true. Very seamless. God damn it, I can't talk right now. So, yeah, when the 580 CUD driver comes out, I'm basically taking out my 9070 XT and we're going to be testing games on my 4070 to see how well it performs, and we're going to compare it to how it should perform, I guess.
Set it up on his desktop, which is an RTX 4080 with a 13700K, and that was another flawless experience for him. In fact, if you're just in there playing the game and you hand the controls to someone and they're playing, they would never know they're playing on Linux. That's how seamless it is. Now, obviously, there's gonna be limitations to what you can do with Linux. Now, in terms of desktop and software support, you gotta look into individual software you want to run to see if it has Linux installs and the level of support that's going to be supported for the OS. But like, for instance, OBS does have, if you wanna do live streaming, does have a Linux install. This, like, for instance, my Insta360 Link 2 camera that's got the gimbal and all that does have a driver and stuff that works, but it's unknown yet, because I haven't tried it, whether or not I'll get the software to run, which gives me the gimbal.
No, the software does not run on Linux at all. That's the downside to the Insta360 stuff. Because if it did, all of this would be blurred out and you wouldn't see my mess. So the Insta360 software does not work because they would... the developers on the Linux side would need to find a way to take the Linux driver and spoof it into being the normal driver that the software expects to be able to use any of the advanced features, and I don't think we have that.
Control. So it might turn the device into the most basic version of the device. So for instance, my Rodecaster 2, which we use in our podcast room, yes, I know we haven't podcasted in forever, hopefully this Friday. But anyway, I digress. Basically, the software itself won't run in Linux, which allows me to drag and drop like sound effects and pad samples and all that sort of stuff. However, everything else, it'll work as like a giant DAC at that point. And that's okay for Linux if I don't care about the sound pads and stuff and programming them, because everything we would need that to do is actually controlled on board the Rodecaster. So all of the mixer and all of the compressors and all that stuff is built in. It doesn't need the software to run. However, what we do use the software for is when we record the audio and offload that into the software, which then transcodes it into an MP3 for us that we upload.
MP3. People really gotta stop using MP3 and ACC, or is it AAC? Like, if you're moving to Linux and you ever watch this video, I don't know why you would, but if you're in OBS, do yourself a favor. This is the biggest thing you could ever do for yourself. Are you really not gonna let me take the entire thing? God damn it, it won't. Can I, like, okay, see here? You probably can't see. I don't know why I'm doing this. Switch to PCM audio.
To Buzzsprout to then syndicate it to all of the podcasting services. That is built into the software. So we would have to figure out a workaround for that. It's not impossible. It's just these are the kinds of things that you take on when you go into an open source OS like Linux or any of the million distros that are out there versus all the native Windows support. So kind of in a nutshell, for gaming, pretty good support. Content creation, we'll give it a middle thumb depending on what you're trying to do. Like Adobe and all that really isn't going to work on Linux. However, DaVinci Resolve theoretically does. So we haven't tried it, but that's what we're reading. And then when
DaVinci's Resolve runs flawlessly, by the way. MP3 works, but anything that runs on AAC will not work with DaVinci's Resolve Studio or Free, so you won't get any audio in the video editor. Plus, PCM audio just sounds better out of the box, and it's more universally accepted, so that's why.
When it comes to like, there's a lot of other programs and stuff that just straight up aren't going to work on Linux at all. But fortunately, though, there's like OpenRGB and a lot of third-party support to actually be able to control like your RGB software and stuff. Or like Phil, for instance, has like the Razer Synapse stuff and other Razer devices and RGB devices that actually natively worked in Linux through a program called OpenRazer that works in Linux. So you're gonna
OpenRazer. There's also a program for Corsair keyboards, by the way, that that allows you to do the whole coloring and a bunch of other stuff with it. It's called CKB Next. Okay. By the way, he has my keyboard in the back. See that keyboard in the back? He's got so many of them. That's like about $400 worth of keyboards right there. That's nuts. He probably has even more of them lying around. But even those, the VIA software needed for those keyboards also works. Mine's screwed at the moment, but it still works.
Gonna have your results and your mileage will vary. But like I said, we're using Bazzite today. So we're gonna set this up over here. Phil's gonna kind of walk me through it because I've never done it. And by him walking me through it, he's gonna be walking you through it.
The one thing you gotta know about Bazzite before you jump in, if you're a content creator, it's not for you. It's as simple as that. It's one of the biggest headaches in the world ever to use. I'm gonna be completely honest. Where is it? We turn this off and we turn this back on. We actually take this away. I'm gonna explain why. Do I have Infinity installed in here? I do. It's right here. See this? This is Affinity Photo. So this is the alternative to Photoshop. This thing works with a simple installation script. So it installs all the needed dependencies and then you drag in the installer and it installs it for you. And then you basically just start it up and you're good to go. I'm the one that actually keeps this afloat. This does work. This allows you to handle everything you need. This does not work on Bazzite at all. I could not get it to work because Bazzite does not come with Wine built in to the system, which is required. And yes, it's immutable. So that's something. I could technically do a workaround where it goes to .local/bin, but that's still really annoying, and I don't want to have to do that. I'd rather have Wine installed system-wide. So there's one thing. And having to deal with DaVinci's Resolve Studio there is pretty simple, but I'd rather have it as a native app instead of in a distro box. And I'd rather be able to update it myself personally. So there's that. Turn that off. Turn this on. Turn that back on. Turn this off. There we go. All right.
We haven't done this.
Look at these goofballs. Look at these goofballs.
Okay, so first thing you got to do is obviously
Make it install media.
Yeah, we're gonna assume that you already have at least one working computer.
Or laptop.
Yeah, or something.
Or friend's computer. So what does immutable mean?
The OS is on its own separate partition that's read-only from the user standpoint.
So you can't mess it up.
But basically, immutable just means it's a lot more idiot-proof than your standard like Linux distribution, where
because Linux is full power, like most like Arch and all that, you can go in there and really mess things up.
That's Arch's whole flaw.
That's a bit of a misconception, by the way. You can't really go in there and screw things up. Let me kind of explain that. That's always been a huge misconception. I hate that misconception. Let me minimize that. So if we go in here and we just try to delete this, you'll notice that we can't. We cannot delete this whatsoever. We cannot delete any of this except for maybe like stuff that's in here, but we can't even do that. Look, this is the most readable and writable folder that we have. So huge misconception. You can't delete any of this. So you can't technically go in and screw it up unless you get a bad program that screws it up for you. Like something really outdated from the AUR that grabs an ancient dependency that screws up your system. But even then, it's super easy to boot into a live ISO of Endeavor and fix it up almost instantaneously. Yeah, the idea of immutable is cool, but it has a lot of restrictions. And I have to agree on something. NixOS does beat Atomic any day or immutable, period. Because if you screw something up and you have your NixOS configuration like constantly being backed up to GitHub, you could instantly just restore it and you're back where you started. It's really cool. NixOS has that, and I like that. That's a really cool function. Sorry if I'm
philosophy
yapping
is
too
that,
much.
It's a build your own OS.
Yeah, exactly. Build your own piecemeal, like, you know what I mean? You get the installer, you install what packages you want, et cetera, et cetera. Bazzite is like, let's take an already established distro like Fedora, make it immutable so that it's a lot more difficult for the user to kind of mess up the OS.
Hi, Ryan.
And then let's add all of the gaming specific packages that things like SteamOS and Valve have done.
Now, I want to step in real quick. A lot of
Not
people
all.
have negative things to say about it being an immutable because they're probably Linux power users, which is why you wouldn't want that. But this is, again, from the perspective of someone that maybe just built their first system, doesn't have Windows, doesn't want to buy Windows. You can get up in gaming with AAA titles like this for free.
Yep.
Now, there's free ways.
If you're a beginner, and I'm going to say this from someone that was a beginner at one point, okay? This is not the way to go. Because you're relying on someone else to take care of you. And you're relying on an immutable thing that just cannot be altered. So if it breaks, you kind of have to wait for the developer to fix it. And things do end up breaking. This is not the way. Immutable is not the way until you've learned how to troubleshoot on your own, how to handle packages on your own, you know, things like that, basic system maintenance, learn DNF, stuff like that, you know. I'm trying to run my pre-installed Steam games. You're not going to be able to run them. You need to install them on a non-NTFS drive. Okay? And yes, I agree. If you're a new user, install Arch the hard way. That will teach you everything you need to know. It's pretty straightforward. Then, if you need to next time, you can install it using Arch install, or you can use Endeavor, or you can use CachyOS. You need a learning point, a starting point. Do not use NTFS, by the way, for any gaming on Linux. It will just cause you tons of problems.
Get Windows, but this is obviously an anti-Windows type of video here. So it says right here, own games outside of Steam, Lutris, which is pre-installed, and other launchers can only run games from most game stores, but cleanly integrate them into Steam gaming mode, which includes EA app, Epic Games, GOG, itch.io, Rockstar, Ubisoft, your dad's old CDs and more. So basically it's like a one-stop gaming launcher OS type service, but you obviously have other things built into it, like you have your browser and a desktop, and you can stream from it and all that.
When we download Bazzite, you'll see the option for, if you click the button up there, so it starts with what hardware you're using.
Oh wait, what are the other hardwares? So desktop, home theater, PC, framework, desktop, handhelds, okay, laptops, and then VMs, obviously. All right, so desktop. What is the vendor of your primary GPU? So we're going to say AMD RX 4000 plus. Oh, it even supports Arc. That's cool. Arc and NVIDIA. And then what desktop environment do you prefer? Steam OS, or what's Gnome?
Gnome is Fedora's default desktop environment. So the desktop environment is basically the user interface for the desktop mode.
So what do we have up here?
I have KDE up here just because I have a little bit more experience with it from Steam OS. This is the big one for basically if you want to run it as like a home theater PC, or by default on a handheld, Steam gaming mode is enabled.
So what you're referring to is, do you want Steam gaming mode? This will automatically log into game mode and only supports a single user.
Yeah.
Which is that like big picture?
Yeah, it is exactly big picture. Okay. It's actually, in fact, exactly how SteamOS handles.
So I'm going to say no, because we still want this to be a full
desktop kind of computer in OS. Yeah. So then you're just going to download the ISO. For Windows, I usually like to use Rufus for creating the USB.
Okay, so
Rufus is good. Rufus is very good, but Ventoy is always going to be better. Remember that. Multiple ISOs on a single drive. No needing to read or write from them to the drive, like back and forth. So you're not really doing any like extra heavy lifting on your drive. Always use Ventoy. It's easy to set up. Yes, Ventoy.
What about like motherboard drivers and like Wi-Fi adapter and chipsets and USB and all
exactly.
That
so that's the crazy thing about modern Linux, is that basically all of those drivers all support for like most modern Ethernet and Wi-Fi controllers and Bluetooth
toy.
controllers and stuff is all built into the OS.
But for the record, like the stigma has always been NVIDIA support in Linux is terrible. But at least for Bazzite and your 4080 and the games that you tried it on, it was pretty seamless.
Yeah.
NVIDIA's support in Linux has not been terrible for ever. The people that say it's terrible, I don't know where they came from, because I've been using NVIDIA on Linux for as long as I can remember. I've always had like multiple different systems. They've actually supported Linux better than AMD has, and they supported it first. That's something that people forget, and they've also contributed to it the most before Mesa started. It's kind of crazy. Like, the myths need to die. It's getting old, it's getting tiresome, and I'm tired of misinformation.
For Windows,
But I'm
I've
old.
heard anywhere
I'm
from,
old
like,
though.
minus 15% to like 25% performance hit.
Performance hit on like 9 or 10 games.
Although I didn't really see that in the games I tested, which was like Cyberpunk and Control and a few other titles and stuff. But I haven't really
yeah, you were seeing a
extensively-
couple of FPS difference.
Yeah. In fact, it's weird because even in Forza Horizon, I actually saw a gain in average FPS.
Yes, Forza Horizon is not affected by the NVIDIA performance issue on DirectX 12. Again, it only happens to certain specific titles, which is something that most people won't admit.
Yeah, the stigma's changing finally.
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of just your mileage may vary depending on what game you're playing and like what architecture of NVIDIA card it is. As far as AMD is concerned, I've always heard that it's basically either a negligible performance difference or it's faster under Linux. Okay, cool. So our ISO is downloaded.
Currently, the 9700 XT. The 9070 XT is 6% slower in a lot of games than on Windows. Ray tracing is slower as well, but it's gotten a lot better. But here's the weird issue. You'll get more regressions than with using Mesa than you will with using the NVIDIA driver. That's the hilarious part. The NVIDIA driver rarely changes, and they test it through and through, which is funny. So whenever I have issues with my 9070 XT, the 4070 is flawless. It's really a give and take type scenario. I hate water.
So you're gonna go ahead and open Rufus.
Okay, so Rufus is open. Do we need to format our drive or anything?
Nope, it's going to nuke everything that's on that drive.
Okay, disk or ISO image, right?
Yep.
Please select.
So click the
That's going to be the file.
That's
Bazzite.
very bright.
The ISO.
And then just go ahead and hit start. Okay, we'll be back once the USB stick is burnt and then
Burnt?
Jeez. Showing my age now.
It might burn it.
Once the USB stick is burnt, we'll be back and then we will show you how to install it on the computer.
So now take it to the system that we're going to install Bazzite on.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so now he's got the USB stick in the new computer, and
So we're going to go to BIOS and choose boot priorities to go to this, because this drive actually has a Windows OS on it.
Yeah.
So we need that nuked, and then obviously we are going to reinstall Bazzite over top of it.
I want to tell you an issue with this keyboard, okay? I'm going to tell you an issue with this keyboard because I have this keyboard. Sometimes when I end up restarting my PC, the keyboard needs 20 seconds to recognize itself. So I have a backup keyboard right here. It's my old Corsair K70. I put that thing through the ringer. It's destroyed. I need to rip it apart like layer by layer and fix it, but backup keyboard required until I figure out what's wrong. I think I need to give it more power, or I need to get a new USB cable, but
All right, so
Yeah.
we want to make the boot option number 1 our Voyager, because that's we're using the Corsair Voyager stick. So if I just restart now, it should boot to that drive. Now, obviously, based on your OS, it's going to probably look different, or not your OS, but your BIOS, it's going to look different. So you're going to have to kind of, if you don't know your BIOS very well, you're going to have to look that up and figure out what works best.
but if you're building a brand new computer with nothing on the drive, then it'll.
it's at your office. That's so cool.
So let's see, install Bazzite,
Yep.
or test the media and install. Should we?
No, I don't do it.
Don't do that. No, you don't need to test the media.
Edge.
So is that Bazzite 41 mean 4.1?
No, it's 41.
That many versions? Wow.
Remember how I said my first experience was in 2003 with Fedora 3?
Oh, yeah.
It's Fedora 41 now, so.
Fedora
It's gonna look very
3?
hacker screeny. It's so going for the garbage file looking.
Oh, yeah.
Installation destination, no disk selected. So I just select the disk.
I would set the time and date, time zone, Los
My
Angeles.
flashbang
Now
is
select my
kicking
drive.
in.
Yep.
So select a system, installation, destination. Okay, so boom.
Storage configuration, automatic, and then I would check that box that says free up space by removing or shrinking existing partitions because we want to nuke whatever else is on there.
So okay, so click free up space by removing and shrinking
Yes.
existing partitions, and done.
Yep.
We don't want to preserve any of these partitions. I
So there's
just
a
delete
delete
them.
all button.
Yeah.
So do
Wham. Delete.
that, and then hit reclaim space. And then if you want, you can connect to
Do you see how easy that is? I love how easy that installer was. The new installer is not much different, but it still does have some stuff. If you want a driver manager, okay, you need to use Nobara. Great distribution. Love it. Glorious Eggroll makes YouTube videos about his distribution. Definitely check it out.
your network right now. Doesn't really matter.
Probably no point to, right?
Yep. And then the user will be default Bazzite with the password of Bazzite. And that's pretty much it as far as choices during install.
Hey, none of all those. We want to spy on new stuff.
Did you have to
Isn't
use
that
a
bit
4K screen?
refreshing?
Microsoft is no longer in the business of making OSs.
No,
the
there's
OS
nothing
is
for
nothing but
Fedora.
a data mining tool.
Yeah, basically.
I'd love to know the real metrics on how much data Microsoft sells and how much money they make on the data versus the sales of Windows. Bet you they make more money on the sale of the data, which means they should just make Windows free at this point. So you're paying to be spied on.
Now it's done. So
Now it says
there's-
reboot system,
Click reboot and then
take the drive out. I mean, it should automatically change the boot loader, I think, to this now, right?
Yep.
So perform mock management.
That's
what is
for
mock?
So this is for secure boot
no.
stuff. You can just hit continue boot.
It's a little bitty wheel.
That's because you're using a
Updating
4K
cards.
display.
What's a carg? I bet you're gonna tell us.
Cool. So it's one reboot and it should be.
Was that like a selector?
That was the bootloader. So one of
Yeah.
the cool things about Bazzite and Fedora Atomic desktops is that you always get the current version of the OS, and then when it does an update, it keeps the last version as well. So in case an update breaks, you can get in the bootloader and then.
All right, so password should be Bazzite.
I'm not sure if I ever tested Fedora 3. I think I think I did. Like it was part of my transition from Arch to trying to find other things and leaving Ubuntu behind because after 9.04 they sucked. So it was like I gotta find a new home.
Oh, I like that background. That's cool. Okay, system fatal error, probably because we need internet. It does look very Windowsy so far.
Yeah.
Like enough to where you don't feel lost.
That's why I picked KDE because GNOME is more Mac-like.
Connect to the internet. So Firefox is pre-installed. So this is application launcher. Oh, this is very
Nice.
Windowsy looking.
That's kind of why I chose KDE over GNOME. GNOME is a little bit more Mac-like, KDE is a little bit more Windows-like, and so if you're
GNOME is more Mac-like. I don't think they've ever looked at a Mac if they say that. When I look at GNOME, I don't see Mac at all. I see like an amalgamation between multiple different weird things that don't make a Mac. It's just really weird. I don't know how to say it. I can make it look like Mac OS without issue, but it does not look like Mac OS out of the box or act like it in any way, shape, or form.
used to a Windows experience, I would recommend KDE.
That works.
You can buy our merch. Our merch is Linux compatible.
Wow, we
Oh
can't get away
my.
from the constant Steam updater even on Linux, huh?
Yep.
Okay, so at this point, you should by now know how to log into your Steam. So you're going to do that. I like to use the Steam utility.
No, I wouldn't even say Elementary OS is Mac-like. It's just too ugly to be Mac-like. No. Not even at all. No.
Or the Steam app to log in, so I have to remember my password. Let's see, OBS.
Mac OS is beautiful.
Hey, look at that. If it
Elementary
supports Mac,
OS
it
is
better
not.
support Linux. Oh yeah, and it does the. Where's my mouse? It gets all big. All right.
Oh no. Oh no, he's All right, I want you to watch his mouse.
Where's my mouse? Get the whole...
Right there. Do you see that? He's got KDE issues. He's got friggin' KDE issues already off the bat. Look at that. And before, if we actually go back to when the first desktop booted up to right here, watch this.
Oh, I like that background. That's cool.
Did you see it? Right there. There was a line. So out of the box, KDE is not behaving very well at all.
Oh, cool. Nice. Okay.
Wow, that was easy.
I was worried that it was actually not going to be that complicated, or it was going to be more complicated.
But what I'm doing is I'm just trying to see without you showing me. Can
That's
I
funny.
navigate to something like, you know, on Mac OS, I always feel lost, and I've used Mac for years. But okay, that's cool. So
Yeah, that is pretty
so
cool.
A lot of Linux programs I would hope would just link you to the right place in the store.
So the Discover store is.
But that's not true because Mac has tons of options. Like out of the box, you have access to everything, and you could even customize accents and other stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that you can actually do. The whole myth about Mac OS not having many options is just weird.
Bazzite uses primarily a Flatpak style app install. So the Discover store is basically the repository for that. So usually, if you're going to be searching for an app, you would check Discover first.
Even on Bazzite, do not use the Discover store. I do not recommend it whatsoever. Install Warehouse instead. Basically, go to the Discover store, install Warehouse, and then use that for Flatpaks.
Then
much better management.
Or if you do Google it and then you find out it's in Flatpak, then you're
okay. So here's everything installed here. Clearly, you can see there's
yes,
also
they should change
themes.
the
I'm assuming
DPI.
they're
It's pretty bad.
Skin.
Yeah, that's stuff is all
the
like
stuff that's already installed that has updates that need to be done. So you can just auto update it from here.
Yep.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Y
this
and
looks
Z
exactly like
GUI.
I'm used to seeing. Okay, so that actually was very easy to get that. So far this looks very Windows-like. Now, big picture, obviously.
I want to tell you guys something. In the upcoming version of Steam, once it's out of beta, Steam Play is automatically enabled. So basically, after a fresh install, you boot up, you log into Steam, you can immediately go and install Windows games, and Proton's automatically enabled. So that's something that's coming. So you don't need to go into settings. You don't need to install and press the compatibility buttons no more. That's all going to change.
So if we were to set this to big picture mode, whoops, which is what, right here? Now where is it? Right here.
Yep.
So if you would select that setting that said single user, big picture, or Steam OS mode, this is what would boot. Like it would go
for all
for
games.
somebody
That's
that
right.
wants to start playing com.obsproject.
Where were we?
So far this looks.
Sorry about that. I misclicked. Yes, for all games. It's automatically going to be enabled. So if it's a Windows game, you can immediately go and install it. That's it. What was the other thing that I wanted to mention? I want an M4. I want an M4 Mac. I want to do videos on Mac OS. Again, I miss that.
Very Windows-like.
I said it.
Now, big picture, obviously.
And M4 is
so
Linux, whatever it's called, a shoddy or something.
Big picture mode, whoops, which is what, right here? Now where is it? Right here.
Right there.
So if you would select that setting that said single user, big picture, or Steam OS mode, this is what would boot. Like it would go through all the Bazzite stuff and then here.
Yep.
Yes.
This is your OS at that point. Well, I don't care for big picture personally, but I just wanted to show people what that looked like. Show me how to find the games that are compatible with Linux. Because right now, this is going to show me my whole library and stuff. But obviously, not all of these games are going to work with Linux.
99.999% of games, if you just click and install, they will work with Linux, minus certain anti-cheat ones. Hello there. Look at this. One of our members has jumped in. Oh, Merez. So he could literally go in and click pretty much anything, hit install, and it should work. That's how far along Linux gaming has actually gotten.
The way Linux runs games is if it's a Windows game, it'll run through a compatibility layer called Proton, which is what Valve has developed for SteamOS and the Steam Deck to basically get support for Windows games without having the developers have to make a Linux native version. All of them will attempt to run via Proton.
A18 MacBook should be fun.
Let's see what happens if I try and run this like super indie game.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the indie game will work fine.
Show me though where the store showed like the games that were like tested and
anything that says it'll run great on Steam Deck is basically what you're looking for. Click the collections. click create a new collection, and then create dynamic collection. And then if you go to the Steam Deck thingy, you can do verified only, which is they verified it works on Steam Deck, verified playable, or verified playable and untested.
Let's see.
Yeah, let's just see what happens.
This is a very indie game.
It's gonna just work.
Work as if it was Windows.
There, see?
Hey, look at that! It literally just worked. A completely untested game.
Yeah, it's working just fine.
A lot different from your last Linux experience, I'm guessing.
Oh my god.
So as you can see, if you
That's an
stick
interesting
to
game.
the Steam ecosystem, it's very seamless. So if you're wondering what we're talking about when we're talking about a compatibility layer and Proton and stuff, so obviously a Windows game is going to expect Windows things like DirectX and...
Is it emulating the environment?
It's not an emulation, it's a translation. So what it does...
I'm glad that he got that right. That made me happy. The whole emulating thing has always made me mad. Wine is not an emulator. That's what Wine stands for. Wine is not an emulator. It's a freaking translation error of system calls, and it's... Oh, I love it. I love Phil. He's amazing.
This basically translates like DirectX to Vulkan, which is the Linux native graphics API and that sort of stuff. So the point I want to mention about the whole it's not emulation is that that's why the performance hit is so tiny and or sometimes even a performance gain.
Here's a true test. This game, the movies, is like 20 years old, maybe? In fact, it's not even on the Steam store anymore. It's just because I have it. So let's see
install
if
it.
this will run. Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe
It might be too old.
this one may not.
I saw like something
Yeah,
over here.
until I scrolled over it. Like my. So how do we now like force exit of a program?
Alt F4.
Oh yeah, okay, so Alt F4 is still the same. Okay, cool.
The movies doesn't work? I'm gonna have to look into that, because that looks like a DirectX 8 or 9 game, so it should technically work. Weird.
Okay, so that one doesn't work. Okay, well, Locked Up is an indie game.
How big is it? Can I like find it? Should we like try to get that working afterwards?
The last major update was in 2021. Now, if you want to take the guesswork out of it, like you said, you can go to here, right? Linux stuffs, and then we can go to Steam Deck.
Exactly.
And
Try another
verify
Proton
it's
version.
playable. Right, that'd probably be our best compatibility there, even though we've got the yellow. So now this will show us all the games
Most likely.
that are like verified and playable.
For Steam Deck. Yeah.
For Steam Deck, which will translate over to Bazzite. All right, here we go. So the last one we just did was an unknown game, Locked Up. This is the last.
Oh, 1 second. Where was it? Where was it? Ah, damn it. I missed it. Right there. He owns Visage. If you guys were a fan of the PT demo, you're going to love Visage.
Just did was an unknown game, Locked Up. This is the last played today. Oh, there it goes. And that was an unknown. So just because it's not on the verified list doesn't mean it won't work. It just means obviously there's too many titles for them to have gone through and tested all of them, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it plays just fine. Look at that. Yeah, it's working fine. Okay.
What is
now,
that?
The other launchers.
Locked Up looks cool.
Okay, so if you're going to be running stuff off of Epic or GOG or Amazon games, you're going to look for Heroic Games Launcher.
It's just called Heroic.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So download from FlatHub.
Yep.
Now this is going to translate those other launchers into this OS.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to log into each one.
Yeah, whichever one you wanna download from. So right now let's try Rocket League, which will be on the Epic Game Store. So
Go to library. Hey, there's Rocket League.
Cool.
So
So you just click
download. Nice. Oh no. Okay, wait. Alt F4. We fixed it.
Yep.
Okay, so obviously with how Steam works, it's very familiar layout enough to where you don't feel lost if you're trying to move from Windows to this. Obviously with Heroic, we could do our other game launchers, and then
Bill is the one who knows what he's doing. Jay is the new Linux user. Even though he's used Linux in the past, the last time he used it, it wasn't anything like this. So yeah.
you can use Lutris for like EA if you're playing EA games and such. Now we're talking about EA games and online gaming. That is where it's not all unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah.
Because there's a problem with anti-cheat.
basically all of the big AAA multiplayer games, unfortunately, are just going to be a no-go because of the
For the multiplayer aspect of it. If they have a
Not all major AAA titles on EA are a no-go. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, A few other Battlefield titles will work completely fine. Other titles as well should work fine. It's just Battlefield 1 and 2042 and 5 that have the anti-cheat. So there's a few others that maybe don't work. As long as they're not using the new EA anti-cheat, they'll run. Or at least they should. And we're not counting Apex Legends because that game's run by idiots. Those developers don't know what they're doing. They just lie about Linux constantly.
Single player version you can play, but
Yeah.
you can't play like Battlefield 2042 online.
Yeah.
They have an offline bot mode and stuff, but so many of these games are battle royales and online only.
If it relies on an anti-cheat where the anti-cheat developers have said no to Linux.
Because what about like easy anti-cheat?
Yeah.
Or EAC?
EAC is pretty much the big one, so
That does or does not work?
does not work.
Okay,
so
Does
games
work.
like Apex, Battlefield, Destiny, Fortnite, GTA, League, Roblox, Rust, Rainbow Six, Valorant. Again, all the big AAA titles that are going to be
Helldivers 2
So even if
does
you just
work.
launched Rocket League,
Yes.
you wouldn't be able to play a match.
Marvel's
play
Rivals
Rocket
works as well.
It doesn't use the easy anti-cheat.
You just listed Rocket League though.
No, I said Rainbow Six
Oh, they said Rocket.
and Roblox and Rust. Yeah,
Ooh.
So
Roadblocks works again, by the way.
older games like Rocket League that don't use easy anti-cheat are going to work fine. But yeah, that's pretty much
Exactly.
the biggest.
And you were saying it's not so much the fact that it doesn't work on Linux, it's just they don't want to take the time to really make it work.
That's the
or
most,
keep it updated.
It doesn't take effort to make something work on Linux. It's a button that exists in Easy Anti-Cheat and always has. It exists in BattleEye. It exists in all anti-cheats. They all have Linux support. The difference is the developers just don't want to click the button.
For Linux.
That's the
It's
most
annoying.
frustrating thing is because easy anti-cheat has Linux like binaries for their anti-cheat and stuff. It's just the game developers they see Linux and they're just like, there's 10 million configurations, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to support it, so we just say no.
So that's the real downside. This is perfect for like single player gaming and stuff, or non-competitive online games that require the anti-cheat software. So just to kind of recap though, so it was, go to Bazzite, download the ISO, you downloaded Rufus, you created the ISO, we put it in over here, did a fresh install, all the drivers and stuff. You notice we didn't load a single driver. Everything worked on its own. The wireless, the keyboard, the mouse, the graphics card, everything, because you select all that when you're creating your installer. Once we're up and running, the only things we installed separately was the Heroic Games Launcher, and that was it.
That is a fair point, Zin. Yes, there are people on Windows who can spoof to actually think they're on Linux and cheat. And that makes us look bad, so that's annoying.
Everything else was, and OBS. I installed OBS just to see if that would work.
Yep.
But I gotta say, for a first, I would consider myself first time. I haven't used Linux in like 14 years. And again, that was Ubuntu, which was not like a turnkey solution like this where you just play games. So I think if you're someone that's like, I want to mess around in Linux, I want to get my feet kind of like dip my toes in, but I don't want to be overwhelmed, I feel like Bazzite is a really good way to start. Now, to keep this video very authentic, the Bazzite.
Didn't even really use Bazzite, though. That's the problem. He didn't put enough effort into using it to really make a decision to be able to recommend anything to anybody. I mean, if he decided to, to take the dive and spend a month with Linux, and then he could come out, like, recommendations would be a little easier, but, yeah, no. It's hard to take recommendations from people that really didn't give Linux enough of a try. I mean, he did some stuff in it, but he's not really, you know what I mean. You don't need to explain any more than that.
Did reach out to me after we showed the video wall, but I did not respond to them other than to say, hey guys, thanks for welcoming me to the community. They did say if you have any problems or any issues, reach out to us. We can help you. But we didn't have any issue other than the installer like hanged for a second. But when we rebooted, it continued on.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing we experienced.
And who knows, that could be some weird, like, our BIOS is so out of date.
The BIOS is very outdated.
Ventoy is the best, agreed.
But yeah, and then as you can see, we were up and running as long as you know your logins to your stuff. So it was actually very simple. Now, I am very aware for all of you Linux elitists, which is so funny to say,
Yeah.
that this is such a locked down, simplified version of what Linux can be. Linux can be as basic as this or as complex as you want to make it. That's what is an open source OS. That's what that's all about.
Maybe.
And that's where, like you were saying,
We'll
with
see
Arch
where it
and
goes.
other kernels and other distros, how you build your own OS based on the things you want to, plug
Yep,
and
the
play.
video is good.
And that's the thing. You can go from this to that.
The video is very
or
good.
you can add another drive or partition and have multiple distros that you can boot into.
I think we're going to leave it here because he's pretty much gone over everything he needs to go over. I think, honestly, he just needs to give Linux a whole month, and then we need to see what he thinks of Linux in the end. And, it'd be really good if he did that. But I think he needs to try out other distributions. Like, again, y'all should go over there and just say you should use CachyOS and give like the reasons. It takes care of you driver-wise. It releases a tested kernel, make sure things are issue-free, so on and so forth. If an issue pops up, they'll fix it immediately. The drivers are good. They talk to people in Discord. They have a support channel and so on and so forth. Things like that. That would be a good comment to definitely leave. But as far as everything goes with him, I think he's pretty much covered everything. He did a good video. Yeah, he did a lot better than Luke from Linus Tech Tips, that's for sure. And a lot better than Linus ever did. That